So to give a throw over to our retro versus modern series, back in my day, I used to get super excited about two things related to Apple every
Yep.
year and possibly a third one. September, October, WWDC in the summer, and then sometimes their spring event because that's when they would release the cool colors, like
Right.
product red iPhone, right?
Yep.
So, but the problem is it's not my day anymore. And I am nervous, not nervous because it's not like the end of the world kind of thing, but I
Mhm.
am a little bit concerned about what we're going to get at WWDC. So here's my 30-second thing. This is what we're going to dive into today. But WWDC 24 was all about Apple Intelligence, and they delivered none of it.
None.
None of it. Right. Last
Yep.
year was all about liquid glass, which I don't care. It's fine. That's a new design language. That's fine. And more Apple Intelligence stuff that is also kind of garbage. And so I'm worried that this year, all we're going to get is a push for AI features,
Mhm.
and none of it is going to make my life easier or better than it is today. And if it doesn't, and that's everything that goes into the new software platforms, that in theory is a step backwards, in my opinion. So there's Grandpa Greg ranting and raving about his feelings for WWDC. How do you feel about it this year, Jay?
Yeah, I'm being cautiously optimistic about it, right? Because like you said, it's uh, y- how things used to be back in the day. I'm going to say that this is not even our Apple anymore, right? This is not the Apple that we fell in love with. No, not that we're unhappy with the way things are. We can complain about a few things here and there. We still love our devices. We still love this rollout schedule that they have every year. We look forward to something new, but so much has changed, right? So much has changed, and um, there is a huge focus on AI, and every year since those good old days where there were just huge updates and huge feature sets being announced and huge changes and the devices were one way and then the next generation was something completely different. I think those days have all been just gone the wayside, right? And every year since then, everyone would say, all of the tech guys would say, oh, this is going to be next year is going to be the huge improvement that we were looking for this year. And all of the features we didn't get, they're going to be next year and next year and next year and next year. And then before you know it, 5 years has passed and you're still asking for certain features that you've been looking for. So it almost seems like WWDC has become similar to the Los Angeles Lakers season, right? Like next year is going to be our year. Next year is going to be our year. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic, but you know, I don't know. We'll see. We'll dive into some of these things and talk it through, and you can let me know. Am I being unrealistic about my expectations?
All right. Well, if this is what you're interested in, then stick around for us. Stick around with us because this is Two Grandpas Talking Tech. I'm your host, Greg Cunningham.
And I'm your host, Jay Benjamin. Thank you guys so much for joining us again for this WWDC rumor roundup, expectations, and wish lists.
Yep. So we're just going to dive right in because most of the show is going to be centered around what we think are rumors anyway. So no real use
Right.
playing the rumors game. And there's not a whole lot of news right now because WWDC is in 2 weeks. Right. And so for those of you that
Yep.
following us that don't know what this is their developers conference. It's worldwide developers conference. It's when they announce all the new software features that are coming out, or most of them anyway. They have a
Hmm.
conference in Cupertino. They invite developers and the press in, and then developers can watch all these sessions and learn all the new code that they can do, all the new features that they can access, all of those kinds of things. And so if we think about what I mentioned in the pre-show that I'd get excited about two things, June was always software. What are the new features and
Yep.
stuff that are coming to the operating system? Mostly regardless of which device you have. because they're really good about retroing stuff back, and it's not about the brand new devices yet. And then September, October, depending on how many events they do, was always about the new hardware. And then we also got a few surprise features that went along with the
Hmm.
operating systems that were only eligible on the new hardware. So that's what WWDC is. It's one of the two biggest things that Apple does. The attention of the press is going to be all over them. And so today we're just going to do one simple question first, which is what do we think we're going to get in sort of a general context, and then we're going to go down general wish list, what we would like to get, and then operating system by operating system. Now, we're not going to cover Vision OS. We're not going to cover HomePods and stuff like that, really. We're really just going to cover Watch, iPhone, iPad, Mac, and then we'll kind of lump some stuff into the other category. Um, so that's our plan for today. We'll hope you stick around and maybe give you some ideas. And we'd love to know what you think is coming. And my biggest thing is I feel like things are already so complex. And while I believe the promise of AI is that it's going to simplify things and make it easier for us to do different things, I have not seen that in very many AI things. Now, to be completely transparent, I use I use Perplexity for some information based inquiries because I like it because it actually cites its sources. So I can go back and
Hmm.
look at its sources. I don't have to worry about getting, wrong answers. And then I use Canva's AI to help generate our show art and our thumbnails and
Yeah.
stuff like that because it's just not my thing. Now I'm actually using it at my jobby job. So I started a new job over the last week and they're using an AI client there, and it has already given me more wrong answers than I can count and more than it's given me right answers. So
Really? Okay.
yeah, and it's a built-in AI for a platform. I think it's based on Copilot, but I'm not anyway, I don't know. We won't go there. But what concerns
Yeah.
me is this all going to make my life more complicated rather than simplifying things? And remember, we talked about Jay, right? That we have moved from our phones and our iPads and stuff being gadgets and fun things to being tools. Tools that
You're
are
right.
supposed to make our lives simpler and easier, like not having to memorize phone numbers or being able to pop up an alert for a calendar invite.
Yeah.
And you were saying in the pre-show, gone are the days of some of that kind of stuff. And I'm worried that all we're going to start getting going forward is things that are going to make it more difficult or more complex for us to actually use these devices as tools and be confident in how we use them. So that's our intro. So, Jay, what do you think we're actually going to get, right? I mean, what do you think Apple is going to focus on sort of at a high level? And then, like I said, when we get done with this, we'll dive into our wish list for each operating system. But what do you think we're actually going to get?
Yeah. So let me start by saying I'm not looking forward to anything AI. It is cool, right? Since the last time we really had a conversation about it, I've used it more with my job, with home, even with some of the AI tools with Canva that you briefly touched on. So I'm not really looking forward to anything AI, but I know it's coming. Um, I'm not necessarily looking for any big or wow features, right? We always know the camera's going to be better. We always know the processor is going to be faster. Wi-Fi may be a little faster. I know all of that stuff is coming, so maybe I'm taking that for granted. But I'm just really looking for the current feature set to function better, right? I'm looking for them to just make the operating system just better, more solid, more stable. Um, always, 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 every year since Greg, you and I've done this professionally, we've known that battery life has always taken a hit with those first few versions of iOS whenever it's released, and it doesn't get corrected until November, December after a few updates. And for some people, it never gets better on older devices and stuff. I'm looking to get away from stuff like that. I'm looking for an update to roll out smoothly. Everyone's battery is fine. No one's Safari is crashing. No one's losing connectivity and things like that, right? I'm looking for some good internal and background improvements because like you said, we look at these things as tools now, right? To help our lives get better. And what is the number one thing that we hate about technology? It's when it doesn't work right.
Mhm.
So imagine investing all of this money in your phone. Imagine, you love this device so much, it's so integral to your job and your family life, and you schedule everything with doctor's appointments and everything to run your life, and then you do an update because everyone's saying doing the update, and all of a sudden you can't get through half of the day with your phone because of the battery life. So that was a long-winded way to say I'm looking for some internal and background improvements, not so much new fancy features or new camera filters or new ways to take pictures and stuff like that. I know it's coming, but this is what I'm looking forward to.
Let me ask it a different way then. So if I told you AI features, AI new features, and I think we both agree that they're all gonna be AI based. I can't see much of anything major
Yeah.
hitting that doesn't have some AI Siri component of some sort. So if we put all of that new stuff in one bucket and we put all of the
Hmm.
stabilization, make things work better in another bucket, right? Sounds like
Hmm.
you want 90% of this and 10% of this. But what do you think Apple
Yeah.
is gonna do? What percentage of the effort over the last year for this new batch of operating systems have gone into AI and features related to AI versus stabilizing the platform? Where do you think Apple's focus is regardless of what you want it?
Yeah. Regardless of what I want, they're all in on AI. And I think every company is. I think every company's, even companies who don't need AI, are figuring out a way to integrate AI. And I think too that a lot of companies are getting ripped off because of these, you know, up and coming companies that are, hey, we can integrate all your workflow into AI and all of that. And then you get a bunch of wrong answers whenever you're just trying to do your regular job. So I think that in these early stages of AI, it's kind of like the Wild West, and we're seeing it now with with just these AI initiatives that companies just want to get out there, and it's not really helpful. It's not really going
Yeah.
in a good direction right now.
So I think that leads us into what we wish versus what we think we're gonna get, because I think it's gonna be 90% AI related
Yeah,
everything known to man, and we're gonna get
I do
10%
too.
of the fixes and cleanup from what was last year kind of a rushed implementation from a UX standpoint, from a
Hmm.
feature set standpoint, because they felt like they were behind. So I think we're going to get 90% stuff I'm not going to care about so much. I hope they surprise me. I really, really do. And I'll explain
Right.
why in a second. And then 10% of the fixes and stabilization, which is spread throughout my entire wish list. And so,
Yeah.
Apple, if they're listening, give me a call. I got some ideas for you. I used to be a product manager. I can help you with this stuff. But um, if they're going to go all in on Siri and AI, and that's what they're going to do, can it please just make things easier for me? Can I
Hmm.
please activate the AI assistant on my phone and have an intelligent conversation with it? Like say, hey, when's the seventh game of the NBA playoffs? And it comes
Right.
back and gives me an answer, but then immediately be able to just turn around and say, and how much are tickets? Or, and what channel is it on? Right. But
Right.
no, you can't do that with Siri because it doesn't remember the first question that you asked it. It doesn't have that context. And so if they're going to go all in on that kind of stuff, make it easier for me to search, to create an appointment, right? To connect pieces of information in my iPhone, right? I mean, I know like I can get reminders that pop up in messages when I have a
Hmm.
task that's related to a message thread, right? But let me tell the AI assistant to go in and set that up. Hey, remind me the next time I text Jay that we need to
Hmm.
cover this, 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 and this on the show. Because then I wouldn't have to go into our show documentation, put that note down, remember to do it. I
Right.
could do this from my car using CarPlay. I could do it through my headphones, right? But
Yeah.
I don't know that that's where they're going to go with this. And so far, Apple to me hasn't proven that they can do some of those kinds of things. But for me, those are the true quality of life AI/Siri enhancements that if they're going to focus, please do something like that. Not enhance how I make fake images of people because their image generation stuff is garbage. It is
Yeah.
absolutely horrible. I have tried it. I have
Yeah.
tried it over and over and over again, and it's just bad, 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 bad. So please just skip.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Anyway, I'm ranting a little bit there, but since we're starting in wish list, that's my generic wish list. If you're gonna do this, automate some of those things that I have to go in and manually do on my phone, rather than focusing on some of this other nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. And, I agree with you. I don't see them going in that direction because none of these improvements or updates that they've done even hinted that they were
Hmm.
going to improve on that, right? Siri is so far behind that we just don't see it catching up. It's going to take a total revamp of Siri. And unless that's what they announce, this version of Siri is not getting better.
Yeah. So that's why I'm a little bit down and a little bit concerned about this because I think they're going to spend a whole lot of time and attention on things I don't care about. Now, I'm one of how many
Yeah.
billions of users out there, the devices, and maybe there are plenty of people that care about this, but most of the people in my
Yeah.
circle would prefer to simplify some of those other tasks before they would prefer some of this advanced AI stuff. And maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe they'll have one more thing that's truly groundbreaking. I don't have the confidence that they can do it from a software standpoint.
Right.
Let's talk about specific OSs. Let's talk about things we would like. And I think it's funny because the first section we're going to do WatchOS is WatchOS. And Jason's note in here is, and I quote, "Don't get me started," but I'm going to do it anyway. Jason, WatchOS improvements.
Yeah. So I'm hoping for, and I know I just said I don't expect any huge improvements. I know, I said those days are long gone of all of the big feature changes and stuff like that. But these rumors of the new hardware that we're getting, right? The new Ultra with all of these added sensors and stuff to it, it just has me excited, right? I'm watchless. I feel naked without my watch. I am waiting for some kind of news or some kind of confirmation, some leaks and things like that on if we're getting a new watch um this year. I mean, we know we're going to get a new watch eventually, but yeah, I'm looking for those new improvements. I'm looking for huge improvements to the health features, right? With all of these sensors, accurate information, and a way to share that information easier with your doctor and stuff like that. I'm looking for more workouts, more accurate workouts, things like that. We always talk about just keeping our heart rate at a certain level and stuff to burn the right amount of calories. Otherwise, you're not getting the right workout. And I just found that, you know, and I'm talking about me, not anyone else, but it's easy for me to get in that comfort zone to where even when I have an elevated heart rate, I'm staying in that comfort zone. And I know they have the little coaching things like that, but I'm looking for huge improvements around that to get me out of that slump too. And man, just a lot. Just a lot of new features around this new hardware that I'm looking forward to. So yeah, I can say don't get me started, but we'll end up going 40 minutes over with me talking about what I want with the watch and especially iPad OS because I have a lot to say about that. So let's finish talking about the watch and we'll move on.
Yeah, we'll do watch, and then I'll go take a break and eat a sandwich while Jason talks about iPad OS.
Right.
But so I'm with you. There's 3 things I want. I want the help features.
Yeah.
I wish they would just go all in, right? Take all of your
Yeah.
watch dollars and figure out how to do blood glucose on the watch,
Yeah.
right? And real blood pressure, not this weird alert thing that I can't use because I've already been diagnosed with
Yeah.
hypertension, right? So do those 2 things. I want the health features. I'd really like them to clean up the UI. It's still messy after this last revamp and
I
things are hard
agree.
to get to and their accessibility gestures. They turned on some brand new accessibility gestures that made it less accessible in my
Mhm.
opinion. So I really would like them to clean that up. And then I want some new watch faces, right? Some fun stuff because I like right now I'm rocking Snoopy, but I'd love some more
Mhm.
Disney collaboration. And then also just g- give. I know they're not going to give third parties the chance to do it. They just won't do that, and I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense to me. But give us some new watch faces that have some different combinations of functionality and some of those kinds of
Yeah.
things because I'm always looking for something cool like that. And then if they're gonna do that, I really would like them to allow me to trigger stuff by, band, or again, if we wanna talk about AI enhancements, let me put on a new band and say, "Siri, I'm wearing a blue band," and have it adjust the
Right.
watch face to match, right? And so,
Yep.
those
Or
kinds of
give
things
you
I
a
want.
certain options to match that band. Yep.
Correct.
I'm
Yep.
with you.
So, yeah, I do think they could clean some of that stuff up because they did make it more difficult with this last one. They did a little bit. They fixed the workout selection stuff, which I've been using more lately. That's better, but it's still just not cool. And like they're talking about putting Touch ID on the Apple Watch, and I'm like,
Yeah.
we talked about this before. I just don't get it. I wish they'd put their dollars elsewhere. So anyway, all right,
Yeah.
so that's watchOS. I'm gonna get my iPad one in real fast because there's
Hmm.
only one. So my new job, almost everything is browser based. Almost everything, right?
Yeah.
I have very few clients sitting on my Windows machine, which by the way, still not a fan of Windows. Um, but I just need the iPad to have Max Safari, the full
Yep.
version of Safari, and open it up so that Chrome can also be the full version of Chrome because there's so many apps that you have to have Chrome. You can't use Safari, even on a Mac, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Riverside that we record in is one of those. So that's my big wish list for iPad from a software standpoint. Please give me a full desktop class
Yeah.
browser and let me do 99.999999999% of everything I need to do on my iPad, please. That's
Yeah.
it. That's my
Yeah.
only wish.
That's a pretty light list. So yeah, let me get started so we don't run an hour long. But I'm like you, I want a more powerful Safari, right? I want the opposite. I want a desktop version on Safari, and then you can choose to put it in mobile mode and get mobile websites and that functionality if you choose it. But I want it to be a full version of Safari. But that's just one thing on my list. One, the number one for me, I don't know why this is a thing, and it comes up from time to time. It doesn't happen often. It's not something that I use my device for all the time, but um, I need to be able to play multiple video streams and multiple audio streams, right? And I'll give you the perfect use case for that. Um, I mean, this is an M4 processor in this thing. It's pretty powerful, right? And they have the M5. It's capable of doing it. But I'm watching a video or I have a YouTube video or something playing in the background. You'll send me a link. My brother will send me a link. And I have to basically stop that video to look at this video or something. When sometimes I don't even want to listen to both videos. I want to watch this video, put it on mute, and keep continuing with the video that I have going, or vice versa. The same thing with audio. I'm listening to music and I want to record a message. The music's only in my AirPods. Let me record my message and not have to pause the audio and pause everything and all that. And the iPad is capable of it. What are we doing, Apple? Let's move past that. And again, I don't know why this is a thing for me. It doesn't come up every day. Definitely a first world problem that I'm complaining about, but uh, it's just something that doesn't make any sense that we have to sacrifice that. You know?
What I don't understand is it works on the iPhone because I can be listening to music and have a reel on Instagram come up on the iPhone
Yep.
and turn the audio on, and both of them are still playing simultaneously.
Yeah, and your AirPods sometimes, right? Like you can
Yeah,
hear them both. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I don't understand why iPad is just so neglected sometimes when it comes to those little tweaks and things like that. So,
yep.
better backgrounding is another thing on my list. Now, I know multitasking has made leaps and bounds over how it used to be, right? It started off, it could barely even be considered multitasking to the point that we are now running multiple apps at the same time. What I do notice, and this is including some Apple apps, it says it's running in the background, but when you go back to it, it refreshes. So it'll take you, if you're scrolling or down a list or something like that, it'll take you back to the top. That's always annoying. Or it's in some kind of frozen state to where when it starts going, it just has to refresh basically the app closes down and restarts or whatever. So I would really like for apps, and I know it's an iOS power management thing, right? Or iPad OS power management, right? You can't have an app running fully in the background. But and then maybe this is some changes that are some of those background changes with WWDC that we'll see. Um, you know, it has to do some kind of power saving thing in the background to where it freezes the app or pauses it. But maybe when it restarts, it doesn't do that whole refresh thing
But
that
but
causes you to lose any data,
so my argument with that, I agree with you 100%. My argument with that is it's got the same processor as a Mac. The
right?
battery life is about the same as a Mac,
Yeah,
but the
yeah,
Mac will do it. But the only thing that seems to be stable in the background on an iPad is if you've got like an export process running, right?
right.
Because
If
it's
it's actually
designed for
doing
those kinds
something,
of things.
right?
Yeah. But
Yeah,
so you got the same processor, you got the same battery life. In some cases, you've got the same amount of RAM. Why can't Apple allow us as users to choose and
yeah,
say, I want that to happen, and I get it that my battery life may not be as good as if I had it
yeah.
turned off, because
Let
you can
us
do it
choose
on a
to take
Mac.
the battery hit,
Yeah,
right? Let us choose to carry our chargers with us if we need it. And if we don't need it,
yeah.
in the morning, we'll change that setting, that low power mode, quote
Yep,
unquote, not like the actual low power mode, but you know what I mean? Hey, we want to conserve battery today. I changed
yeah,
that setting. All of that, those background functions turn off. But on days where I'm 5 feet away from a charger, I go to my shop, I have a charger there. I'm in the car, I have a charger there. Let me choose to hurt my battery.
yep,
You know what I mean?
yep.
So better backgrounding when when it comes to it. A feature that I asked for that I was looking for next year, one of those things where last year I was looking for it. One of those things where, like the Lakers season, next year is going to be our year. Continuity cam for iPad. Like we got it on the Apple TV, right? Why not on the iPad? Why not? Most people have an iPad and an iPhone anyway. Continuity cam for iPad just makes sense. Better support for
Again,
external.
again, same processor.
Same processor. Yep. Yep.
Why? Why is it not? Yeah, I would
Just
love it
forgotten about.
because so if we combine those two, the Safari request and continuity cam, you and I can
Yeah.
record and I can edit our show 100% on the iPad.
Yeah, and not just us. It would make the iPad and the iPhone a podcasting, YouTubing, streaming beast,
Yep,
right? It'll make it a powerhouse. That's a good selling feature. Not that it's not a good selling, device as
yeah.
it is, but I mean, someone who's trying to break into either YouTubing or vlogging or podcasting or something like that. If you already have an iPhone, if all you need to do is buy an iPad and not a full laptop, not a full MacBook or something, hey, that'll turn it into a powerhouse. It really
Yep.
would be a killer feature. So, continuity cam, better support for external devices, and I know we got a small little list of webcams that you can use, a small little list of keyboards and things like that, but I mean, open that thing up. Everything that you can plug into your Mac, you should be able to plug it into an iPad. I don't know why no one's mentioned this in any meeting, in any staff meeting or any in any iPad OS meeting that they've had at Apple. No one stood up and said, "Hey, everything that you can plug into your MacBook, you should be able to plug it into this iPad. What are we doing? Why is that wall there? Where are these limitations coming from?" And there's not a whole lot of stuff that I can name that I want specifically. Um, Definitely more cameras, or
Yeah.
continuity cam, and I won't have to complain about not being able to plug things into it. Um, and Bluetooth works fine with most devices, but older devices, legacy devices, devices that don't necessarily need Bluetooth built into it, let us plug it in. It'll be fine.
All right. Tell me what you think about this. So they give us a full version of Safari.
Hmm.
They turn on continuity camera and they sell, even if you have to buy the terabyte, so you get the extra RAM version of the iPad Pro to do this, they sell a $500 Magic Keyboard that's also a
Right.
USB-C hub. And then I can plug a hard drive, a microphone, my iPhone for continuity camera, but have it be wired because it is better
Hmm.
when you do wired
Right.
versus wireless.
And you need the power anyway. Yeah.
I would buy that device I would spend the extra money for the terabyte, the 2 terabyte, whatever they told me I had to get, if it could do, because essentially then it is completely replacing my MacBook Pro, right?
Mhm.
But when I take the iPad out and off the keyboard, I just walk away and I have my awesome tablet. But when I put it back in that special magic keyboard that also serves as a USB-C hub, I can do
Right.
anything and everything that I wanna do. And I mean, iPad Pro is great. So it was funny that one of my first days at work, my boss was like, "What happens if you plug your iPad into my docking station?"
Mhm.
And I'm like, "It'll work." So I think it was my mini that I grabbed, not my iPad Pro, because that's what I had convenient. And he's got one of those big,
Yeah.
long, curved monitors. So it flickered on that,
Right.
which I would have expected it to do, but it still displayed on both of his monitors they had attached to it.
Yeah.
This is my iPad mini, right? How many processors ago is my iPad mini? So if I plugged my iPad
Right.
Pro into it wouldn't be a problem at all. But so think of the power of full blown browsers, better support for
Yeah.
accessories, and a magic keyboard that's also a hub. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. How did it look on that? He has one of those long screens. You
Yeah.
said the ultra wide ones? How
It
did it
didn't look
look?
good because it was the mini, right?
Right,
So,
right.
it doesn't have
I've
the
been
oomph.
I've been s
I'll
I've been
plug my
struggling with forcing myself to not buy one of those because I want one so bad.
yeah.
I want one so bad. They look great. And I wanna plug my iPad and have every app open across the screen.
If I get a chance, I'll plug the Pro into it and tell you. But I'll bet it'll
Yeah,
drive it
yeah.
just fine. So,
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. And open up as many apps as you can and lay them out across the
see,
screen and
Jason,
and send me a picture of it.
you just need to buy a Vision Pro, except for they're
Yeah.
ridiculously expensive. So,
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. I've seen a few guys that are willing to take a hit on it that are selling them for about 1,500 now. Even though I know they're older. Um, yeah, yeah. I've seen a few of them. I hadn't really explored pulling that trigger yet, but they're starting to come down in price. So
Yep.
we'll see.
Jason, tell me about
So
this next one.
so this one is not a everyday use case. But every now and then, so I don't do the what do you have, the 2 terabyte iCloud? Um, I, um, I find myself always having to access something that's not in iCloud, but it's actually on my iPad itself. Now, my iPad is either with me or is here connected to my gigabit Wi-Fi that I can access, anything in my home from anywhere in the world, but not my iPad. So if my iPad is not with me and there's something stored locally on it, it's here at home. I don't have access to it. So this is not something that I'm sure with the focus that they have on iCloud and getting people to subscribe to it, this is even a feature that they would want to allow. But this is something I think that would benefit me and probably a lot of guys is being able to access your iPad directly, right? Even if it's just a certain folder, but then again, that's iCloud, right? I'm basically
Yeah.
describing iCloud. So no, I just want to have remote access to my iPad, just to retrieve certain files and things like that that aren't stored in iCloud, that aren't stored on my NAS or something like that. So um, again, not a huge ask, not something that I'm even, remotely sure that Apple would do, but I think it'll be cool to access my iPad remotely because there are things that aren't on iCloud that are just on my phone. I mean, just on my iPad, and I know we have like continuity, right? I can get to my browser tabs that are open. I can get to um, few things that continuity allows, right? That I can do that I can see that I was using on my iPad and I can open it up on the phone, but I can't really get to files and things like that
Yeah.
that are stored locally. So I would like something like that. So, and then I would just finish up with saying all of the basic speed bumps, right? Faster processor. They're not going to talk about hardware, right? This is
Yeah.
WWDC is only software, but we know that those features are going to come. It's going to be faster. It's going to be a lot snappier. Apps and stuff are going to open and close. The speakers are going to be louder. The screen is going to be brighter. Things like that. I'm just hoping iPadOS 27, takes full advantage of all that. So
All right, so let's talk about iOS because you and I are on the same page on this one. And then I'm just going to
yeah,
say that I feel the same way about macOS, and you don't have an opinion really on macOS because you don't use a Mac. But
yeah.
I think you and I are on the same page about iOS. So tell us your iOS wish list.
Yeah, so I said I would go first on this because it'll sound weird coming from a tech guy, and anybody that's sitting listening to the show or watching the show, they heard me just rant about everything that I want out of the iPad and the watch. But I'm actually happy with the current state of the iPhone right now and iOS. Um, the current model iPhone, the 17 Pro Max, it is like Tim Cook says, the best phone ever, the best iPhone ever, and it truly is. And I'm happy with it. I was riding the other day, late. We're coming from an event. We had a festival Saturday. At the event all day, I'm doing transactions on my phone. I'm taking phone calls. I'm videoing and stuff like that. And we were on the way home. It was 11 o'clock in the evening, and I was at 64%.
Hmm.
64%. You know, I don't know what guys are doing that are complaining about battery life. And I get it. Some people's jobs are more, labor intensive on the phone. And your battery life is probably a lot lower than mine, but I got a whole day usage and drove home with 64%. I'm happy with that. So I don't really have a full wish list of things that I want out of iOS. Again, outside of those basic improvements that are going to make battery life better or not even make it better. That's not going to make it worse by the time September rolls around and the update comes out. So, yeah, as long as it doesn't break anything, I'm happy with it.
Yeah. I would be perfectly happy for both iOS and macOS. We'll just combine this together if
Hmm.
they would just go in and stabilize the heck out of it,
Right,
right?
right,
Stabilize the little issues that are here and there, fix some of the UX elements, make it more efficient from a battery life perspective. And then we know that in the fall, we're going to get better batteries with new hardware. So in
yep,
theory, that's a multiplier effect on battery life. I just looked at mine, Jay. Mine's at 83%.
yeah,
And I haven't had it on a charger all day. And I have used it for text and email and notes. And I mean, not a ton of stuff,
hmm,
but, but that's a typical day for me is to
yeah,
do it. I had it playing music for a whole bike ride. Right. And so, yeah, they've done a really good job. And maybe this is just how we wrap up this whole episode is my concern about all of this is about the complexity. The iPhone is complicated enough, right? Discovering new features, explaining to my grandma, my wife, others in my circle how to do something on the iPhone has gotten very, very complex over the
right,
last several years. And so I'd love for that to stop, right? Just stabilize things, simplify stuff. They are not going to, right? It's like asking them to stop making a gazillion dollars. It's just not going to
right,
happen. They're not going to do it, but every fall, you talked about battery life. Every fall, my watch stops taking requests, my home pods
hmm,
don't sync up, my this device loses connectivity, my Apple Watch can't unlock my Mac. I mean, you name all of these things, and it happens because all of this stuff is connected in the back end. It's the
yep,
downside. There's definite pluses, but it's the downside of being so ingrained in the Apple ecosystem that when they are making wholesale changes to every part of their operating systems all at the same time, things in the back end are going to break. Right.
right,
Now,
right,
luckily, I've never lost photos or files or had my Apple Pay or something like that have issues. I better knock on every piece of wood that I can find. Right.
right.
But it's just so complicated that I worry that now they're going to start introducing all of this AI stuff, which is not simple at all. Right. That it's
Yeah,
going to make all of those problems that we've had even uh, more exaggerated and harder to deal with. And
yeah.
so that's what I hope we don't have happen this fall. I mean, it's almost like remember when they first rolled out Apple Intelligence, they let you choose whether to turn it on or not.
Mhm.
I would love for that to happen again and to not have to turn it on anything for several months if I don't care about the features. The
Right.
problem is, I don't believe that that would solve any back end synchronization connectivity problems because even if you don't turn it on to use it, it's still using all the same back end, right? All the iCloud,
Yeah.
all of the Apple services connectivity. So I hope I'm wrong. Like, I really, really hope that I'm wrong. But that's the struggle that I have going forward is the more complicated this gets, can they keep up with making it usable for the average user? I mean, when Steve Jobs first wanted to do the personal computer, he wanted a personal computer in every home, right?
Yeah.
That was the vision. But that also meant that the average person in a home had to be able to use the computer, which is why the Mac, if it hadn't been so darn expensive, would have been perfect because it's not as complicated as Windows, right? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
using Windows
Mm.
every single day right now and remembering just how complicated it can be to do stuff on Windows. But our phones are getting like that. So,
Yeah.
yes, I want the iPad to advance, take advantage of the hardware because I want it to be a full blown computer. My iPhone, I want it to be my iPhone. I don't need it to be my Mac. I don't need it to be my iPad. I just want it to be my phone.
Yeah.
And to anyway, so that's what I'm hoping for. That's my wish list. Please stabilize this stuff. Please don't break anything. Just
Yeah.
please don't.
Yeah. And it's all the things that they can't beta test, right? We can beta test watchOS and macOS and all of that, and thousands of users can give them feedback and all of that, but they can't beta test their backend systems, right? We can't beta test how it's gonna affect other systems and stuff like that. So,
Yep.
yeah, Greg, I think you're right. Just don't break anything.
All right. So I think we agree. Do lots of cool stuff in watchOS.
Hmm.
Do lots of cool stuff in iPadOS, and just slow down, breathe, and stabilize iOS and macOS.
Yeah. I remember you saying this was gadgets for families, like when we first started one WWDC, and you were saying that eventually iOS is going to be just as because Windows didn't start off complicated, right?
Right.
It was pretty simple. And every year they piled on and piled on. And I remember you saying that one day iOS is going to be just as complicated as Windows, just as complex, and it's getting there. We see it. So,
Yep.
yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, that's it for our WWDC preview. We would love to hear what you think in the comments. Tell us what your wish list is. Tell us if you think we're going to get something different. Feel free to tell us that we're completely off our rocking chairs, not rockers, rocking chairs regarding AI, because that's what we're going to get. We know it is. It's not
Yeah.
what we want, but that's what we're going to get. But yeah, drop down in those comments, engage with us, let us know. And then, so we'll release this episode the week before WWDC. We will release our next retro versus modern episode, which is going to be about portable music. I'm excited
Yep.
about this one. We're going to release that one the week of WWDC, and then we'll be back the week after WWDC with our analysis of what they announced, kind of our hot takes, probably a little more than hot takes because we'll have had a few days most likely before we um, before we drop the episode.
Hmm.
So that's the plan. Engage with us in the comments and love to hear feedback. Jay, you got anything else for us today?
No, that was all, guys. Hopefully, we all get what we wish for this WWDC. We'll see you then.
Have a good one.